I wish they could have pulled it out, but that defense, it was tough. It's tough to watch.
Eli played well enough for them to win.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not going to act like he played great, but he was excellent in the first half. In the second half, they really put the reins on him.
Well, there was only a half of football. He was fantastic, and he won. So there you go. And then they realized it was two halves.
They all of a sudden, they were having such success throwing the ball down the field in the first half. In the second half, they removed that from the game plan entirely. It just, if you'd have known Eli's not going to have any turnovers, and you'd say, okay, they got a shot. He gave them more than a shot. The Giants just really bad right now.
Yeah, 2 for 12 on third down. You're not going to win many games like that. And when you watch the defense pre-snap, they just don't know they don't look like they know who they have to guard. And at the end, you know, they just let the tight end, who's been killing them all game, wide open. Nobody covered him.
When Odell was there, Eli, Daniel Jones, so much focus has been on the Giants offense. For 3 years in a row now, the Giants defense has been abysmal. Since the playoff year, since the year they went on, since then, this has been the biggest problem on the Giants has not been quarterback play. It's been the defense, and it doesn't get discussed the way the issues on the offense do.
All right, let's talk about another former Giant. The Odell Beckham Jr. saga has taken yet another turn. Yesterday, we mentioned Jake Glazer's report that OBJ is telling opposing players and coaches to, quote, come get me. Well, Odell is in the middle of the worst statistical season of his career. He's hurt, he's underutilized, and now reportedly, quote, lost and trying to redeem himself. Nick, is it looking like OBJ will be playing somewhere else next season, despite the fact that the Cleveland Browns say, no, we want him here, he's not going anywhere?
I think Odell right now is an undervalued asset, and I think there's a team that's going to go out there and swoop him up. I think that his cap hit next year, as we've discussed, less than $15 million, which for a player of his caliber is an absolute bargain. Odell is, I know this isn't my speculation, super motivated, whether it's in Cleveland or elsewhere, to get himself back where he was up until that fateful playoff game. First 3 years of his career, match him up to anyone's first 3 years ever. Catches, yards, touchdowns. He's neck and neck with the greatest players ever. Since then, what has happened is he lost a year due to injury, he lost a year due to Eli, and he lost a year in Cleveland due to whatever. Now, he has to take, some of this is clearly on him. I'm not removing responsibility from the player, but I don't think Odell all of a sudden went from a 98 out of 100 to a 78 out of 100, but that's what the production has been. And it should be noted, when it looked like he wanted out of New York, he didn't ask to go to Cleveland. Now, he didn't reject it. He tried. He was a good teammate, and has been, by the way, a good teammate thus far. But we heard San Francisco and New England as the teams that...
Some LA Rams in there as well, but definitely...
West Coast and New England. Yep. And when you look at Cleveland, if you look at their schedule as of going backwards, it's like, so when we heard the reports that he was talking to people on the sidelines about places he might, you know, come get me, like, oh, they did play New England recently, didn't they? Oh, they played San Francisco. Oh, they played Seattle. Like, so when the reports were he was telling coaches, come get me, players, come get me, well, a couple of those teams were places we had already keyed him on. So listen, I think it'd be better for both parties to move on. I don't think they need him there. They need other things. And I think Odell could use a true fresh start, which would be probably his last fresh start he gets in this league.
I absolutely agree with you. I think that he needs a high-profile team. I mean, New York, going from New York to anywhere else is going to be a step down. I remember when I left New York and played for Kansas City for a month or two. I just remember when they called in the media, and there was like 6 guys, and 3 of them were camera guys. And I think when
one of them was me.
and I remember thinking, this is not the NFL that I'm used to. And so he's going to need a place that's competitive. He's going to need an elite quarterback, and because of all the opportunities he had early. I mean, he was in a cherry spot and didn't even know it. So now I think that he's kind of get back to a spot where he feels like he's going to be motivated in the same way he was in New York.
Look, I get what both you guys are saying. I think he definitely wants out, and I think it would be good for him. However, if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I am only trading him this offseason or whatever if I get a blockbuster deal. If it's a first rounder and more, if it's something that is going to definitely improve my offensive line. Outside of that, I'm not giving him away.
Oh,
and you know, when the Giants were initially, there were talk about them trading him, the Rams, you know, they weren't getting a ton of great offers. So unless I get a great offer, I'm not giving him up, because there have been reports that the offense, Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland.com wrote a report last week, Freddie Kitchens and Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator, aren't on the same page. That there's like 4 people involved in calling the plays during games. One of them, the inactive quarterback, Drew Stanton. So it is a mess. If I'm Cleveland, this is what I'm thinking. Unless I get, again, a great surefire deal for OBJ. Why would I break up OBJ and Baker Mayfield, and I've got Jarvis Landry and some great running backs too, without giving them a chance, without bringing in a coaching staff that I know knows how to maximize a quarterback and receiver? If I bring in that type of staff and they still can't get it going, okay, now I move you. But without doing that, again, barring a great deal, I'm keeping him, and I'm giving him one more shot before I give up on him.
Just to be real clear, I don't think they should sell him 30 cents on the dollar. I would.
Do you think they'll get a great offer, though?
To me, if I'm Cleveland, I don't answer the phone if it doesn't start with a first-round pick. If you give me a first-round pick, we can start talking and try to squeeze a little more out of it. The Giants got a first, a third, and a player. You could try to get a first and a mid-round pick. But in today's NFL, with what guys active, Jalen went for 2 1s. Tunsil went for 2 1s and a 2. Yeah, it's not the Randy Moss to New England for a fourth. You know what I mean?
Right,
you're not going to get rid of him for a fourth.
Well, then you're not
pick.
answering the phone for San Francisco, who doesn't have a ton of money and a ton of free agents that they're going to be able to pick, rather, to be able to give.
I don't think they're going to give up that much. I mean, New England always is traditionally known for getting the better end of deals, not the worst end.
But if there's anything we know about Odell, and a lot of it is because Nick has a relationship with him, it's that he's. I don't want to say he's lost, but there's something he hasn't found yet that has been very fulfilling to him within the football world.
He's a 27-year-old in America in 2019, man.
Okay.
For real.
So,
Give it to me now. I want it now.
Let's look at the other top receivers: DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, so on and so forth. What's the difference? And I like OBJ, but what's the difference between him and them?
Well, so Julio and Michael Thomas, I was going to say consistency of quarterback play. One of the things Hop has been great about is, up until the last couple of years, he had the worst quarterback play you could have in football, and he still produced.
Still productive.
But those guys just go play.
They show up, they put their head down.
With OBJ, as great as he is, I got to worry about all these other things.
But so they're all different human beings. So, like, listen, DeAndre Hopkins, everyone should read the Mina Kimes story on DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins, when he was a child, his mother was blinded in a horrific domestic violence incident, essentially. And he had to, from that moment, be a grown-up. It was like, hey, you're so good at this sport. As a little kid, our family is relying on you. That breeds a different type of adult mentality than the one Odell had, and and so he is a different person than those guys. You mentioned going from New York to Kansas City, or how jarring it was. The place I honestly think would be best for my pal Odell is Seattle, because it is off Broadway. Because you are up in the upper Northwest. All you got to do, nothing against the city of Seattle, but it's the most far removed city of any of. There is less media scrutiny, even though it's a major American market. You have a great quarterback. They do have the draft picks. They are clearly, even though they're still retooling, already ready to compete. And going from Eli at the end, Baker this year, to Russell bleeping Wilson would be a revelation for Odell. And Odell is, Amani, tell me if you agree, enough of a superstar that the market follows him. Like, he is, if he can get back to playing at a high level, the endorsements and the fame and all of that goes with him because he's such a brand. Being somewhere where the most important thing is football, and really the only thing, I think could be really good for him. You would have thought that was Cleveland, but Cleveland had all the buzz and Baker and all this stuff, it became a different type of situation. Seattle's the team that, for me, if I could pick it, I would hope would trade for Odell.
I think Seattle's a great place, not just because, I think because they have a history of winning. And one of the things that I heard about Odell in the locker room was that he really wants to win. And him being in a situation where he's not competitive, I think one of the big problems he had with the Giants was they weren't competitive as he thought that they should be. So he needs to go to a place that's competitive. I think Seattle's a good place for him to go. But I think that, you know, he needs to be able to, if he makes a great play, it needs to be splattered all over. He made it a great play in the Monday night game versus the Jets. A great one-handed catch. It was kind of like, okay, great, they beat the Jets. He needs to be in a place where if he made that play, it'd be splashed all over Sports Center. I mean, all over the different, you know, media outlets. So that's one of the reasons why I think he needs to go somewhere else where it's a higher profile.
He's going to be searching for a long time if those are the things he needs, as opposed to, I just need to catch balls, get touchdowns, get wins for my team.
Him.
But that's
right.
Right,
that's never been him.
But if that's what you need, you don't think you're going to constantly be seeking